Welcome class. In the next work of logistics, I'm just continuing with the previous class what we discussed. We started in the previous class our discussion with the work of logistics. I hope you remember the integrated logistics model. Now I'm just presenting you the next important concept it's a continuation of our previous class recording, the information flow. I hope you understand the need for the information flow, how it has to be optimized with the help of planning and coordination of information flow. The coordination, I hope it is one of the backbone of overall information system architecture among the value chain participant, right? So coordination results in specifically it requires 7 important steps. It has to be related with strategic objectives, capacity constraints, logistical requirements, inventory deployment, manufacturing requirements, procurement requirement, and forecasting. So you can relate the context of information flow in the major 7 interrelated areas. So the information requirement, once again for your understanding, I'll repeat it. Whenever there is a strategic objective requirement, a capacity constraint, logistical requirements, the inventory deployment, manufacturing requirements, any kind of procurement based requirements, and of course in the forecasting area. So the primary drivers of overall value chain are the strategic objectives, because that results from the marketing and the financial goals. So strategic objectives detail the nature and location of the customer, which are matched to the required products and services to be performed. So the financial aspect of strategic plan detail resources required to support the other functionalities of our manufacturing units related with inventory, receivables, facilities, equipment, and the capacity. When I talk about the capacity, we also relate it with capacity constraints, which coordinate the internal and external manufacturing requirements. For a non-manufacturing participants in the value chain, this form of planning is not required, but given the strategic objectives, the capacities, the constraints, which will identify the limitations or the barriers or the bottlenecks within which a manufacturing firm which is operating. So their capabilities, which has whether the company's core activities manufacturing, we can go in for outsourcing. The other related activities like warehousing can be outsourced, packaging can also be outsourced, even the logistic can also be outsourced. So this kind of requirements are part of capacity constraints. Say, when I just share you with an example, the Kellogg owns a brand and distributes the Crackling Oats brand, a third party on a contract basis. They perform all the manufacturing part. So the result of capacity constraint is a plan that replaces the strategic objectives in a time phase schedule that details the facility utilization, the financial resources, as well as the human requirements. So the point what I'm making it very clear is your core activity need not always be a manufacturing activity, that can also be outsourced, and other areas of a competitive edge can be strengthened. How the planning and coordination flow is normally exhibited in a different model. I am presenting you the model. Just have a look on the model. how the planning and coordination flow is happening in the context of logistics. Look into the components, what are all present in the model. Just observe it for a minute so that you'll be able to understand the different components and the interrelated part of the entire model. Look, as we started our discussion with the strategic objectives, which leads the capacity constraint. Capacity constraint can be resolved either by going with the present requirements, that is logistics requirement, or it could be managed by forecasting or providing the facility to a third party. That is also possible. That is outsourcing is also possible, right? And what is that next part in the model is our logistics requirement. Logistics requirement, where to get the details from the inventory deployment, how you are maintaining a perfect inventory, that is basic and base inventory and the safety inventory, without affecting company's inventory infrastructure, which means you're not investing much money into the average inventory. How to go about this? So you're perfectly managing the inventory management system. How do we get the inventory management system perfect? When you look into the arrows, we got it from distribution operation. How the distribution operation keeping the entire inventory flow perfect? Because they already got the order processing. From where they've got the order processing, we have an order management system. So just look into this part up to this, your inventory part is very clear. So here logistics requirement is perfect, inventory is good, managing your distribution operations are perfect. How do we go with the next steps? Where you source your raw materials? What is the use? Where is the role of your logistics? Where is the role of your transportation and shipping? So in the another end, we put a procurement requirements. That procurement requirements leads to manufacturing requirements, that leads to that satisfy a logistics requirement, that in turn related with the inventory management. So this model has given you a perfect idea of how effectively each and every component of logistics are beautifully linked together. So where will you see the role of logistics? So strategic objective is not only at the top level they are discussing. The logistics competency is measured. Of course, capacity constraint where you're taking a strategic decision of keeping the core competitive activities with you and you are outsourcing the other activity where that decision is affecting your logistics operations in terms of requirements, in terms of physical distribution, in terms of transportation decision, in terms of the type of warehouses you're going to keep it. So I hope this perfect model gives you a clear understanding idea of how the planning and coordination information flow is related. So logistics requirements specify the work that distributes the facilities, equipment and labor. Labor, I mean the people, those who are involved in the work which is taken care by the specific HR department, must perform to implement a capacity plan. So using the inputs from the forecasting, the promotion scheduling, customer order, you can also plan for inventory status, logistics requirements, specify the value chain performance. So hope you can even relate the discussion what we had it in the earlier classes related with logistics information system. What modules are required, what files are required, what records are required, what kind of information really required for making a meaningful decision making. Okay, now I'll take you to the next part of our discussion with inventory deployments. They are the interfaces between our planning, coordination, and operations. What is the role of this inventory deployment? They detail the timing and the composition of where the inventory will be positioned A major concern of deployment is to balance the timing and consolidation to create the efficiency as inventory flows through the value chain. Inventory is unique in that it is an integral part of the planning, coordination, and operational flows, which is involved in the logistics. From an information perspective, information perspective, deployment specifies the what, where, and when of the overall logistics process. From an operational viewpoint, it specifies inventory management is performed as a day-to-day event. So because of this duality, the inventory deployment and management is it is started out between the planning and coordination and operational information flow. Normally, in production situations, manufacturing plans are derived from logistical requirements and typically which is result in inventory deployment. The primary deliverables are the requirements or the statement of time-phased inventory requirement that drives the master production scheduling and manufacturing requirement planning. So that the deliverable from manufacturing requirements in a day-to-day production schedule that can be used to specify the material and component requirements. The procurement requirement schedule the material and the components for inbound shipment to support the manufacturing requirements. In retailing and wholesaling situations, procurement involves maintaining product supply. In manufacturing situation, purchasing must facilitate inbound materials and components parts from suppliers. So regardless of this situation, purchasing coordinates the decision concerning supplier qualifications, degree of the desired speculation, the third-party arrangements, and the feasibility in the long-term contracting. And what the forecasting is doing, it utilizes the historical data, current activity level, and planning the assumptions to predict the future activity level. So, the logistical forecasting is generally concerned with relatively short-term predictions, that is less than 90 days. The forecast periodic predicts, usually we do it on a monthly basis or even on a weekly basis. So the sales levels for each product forming the basis of logistics requirements and the operating plans. The overall purpose of information planning and coordination flow, so whatever we discussed so far, is to integrate specific activities within a firm and to facilitate the overall integrated performance. So unless a high level of coordination is achieved, the potential exists for operating inefficiency and excessive inventory. So planning and coordination, this model is exhibited given a clear picture of how the various components of logistics are integrated together. Now let me present the next topic of our discussion, operational requirements. This is the second aspect. The first one is planning and coordination information flow. The second one is operational requirements. What is this operational requirements? It is concerned with directing the operations to receive, to process, and ship inventory as required, supporting the customer and the purchasing order. So this is the primary objective of this operational information. What component it deals with. Earlier I've shown you the 7 components with the integrated model, right? So this operational performance related with 6 different components where the information requirements really needed. Maybe can you guess, all of you, where the real logistical operations requirements in the context of information? It could be order management, you're right, order processing, distribution operations, inventory management, transportation and shipping, and the procurement. So the same 6 points what we discussed in the whole model, right? Let me explain the component for your clear understanding one way. I hope all of you are ready. Yes. Order management refers to the transmission of requirement of the information between the value chain members. Who are the value chain members involved? We are connecting the supplier at one end and the customer at the other end, right? So the value chain members involved in finished product distribution. So the primary activity of order management is accurate entry and the qualification of the present customer order. This transfer of requirements between the value chain participants is typically either how will you get the order from the customer? We'll get it from through mail or through phone, or even sometimes officially or receiving it through fax. Some basic electronic data exchange for companies having any information system, logistics information system, or ERP, enterprise resource planning, or they have a customized package through which the customer initiates an order. So the impact of information technology on the order management is extensive here. So the availability of low-cost information transfer, which has really revolutionized the order management process. Order processing, what will do, the next step could be, it allocates inventory and assign the responsibility to satisfy the customer requirements. So once I receive the order, what could be the next step? I have to make things ready in order to meet out the customer requirement. How to make the things ready for which? The first thing what I have to do is I have to allocate the inventory. As you know, the traditional approach is to assign the available inventory. What is at present which is available? Or you can go on for planned manufacturing to customer according to the predetermined priorities. But now with the help of advancement in the technology, where the IT-based order processing system, you could relate the two-way communication linkage. Now can link your customer. You can also ask him negotiating the order which satisfies when it has to be delivered. So within the constraint of the planned logistic operations. So this will lead to contact the information flow in the next system, distribution operations. So the distribution operations involve information flows required to facilitate and coordinate the performance within the logistics facilities. The primary purpose of logistic facility is to provide material or even any product assortment to satisfy the customer order requirements. Here the emphasis is placed on the scheduled availability of the desired assortment with minimum duplication and minimum redundant with the same repeated work, effort. So the key to distribution operation is to store and handle the specific inventory as little as possible while still meeting the customer order requirements. So inventory management is concerned with using information to implement the logistics plan as specified, using a combination of human resources and the information technology. Inventory is deployed and then managed to satisfy the planned requirements. So the work of inventory management is to make sure that the overall logistics system has appropriate resources to perform as planned. The next part of the information flow here is a transportation and the shipping information, which directs the movement of the inventory. So to achieve the efficiency, it is important to consolidate the orders so as to fully utilize the transportation capacity. So it is also necessary to ensure that the required transportation equipment is available when needed. So finally, because the ownership transfer often results from transportation, supporting documentation is also required. The next part is procurement. Procurement is concerned with information necessary to complete the purchase order. So to complete the purchase order preparation, modification, and release while ensuring the overall supplier compliance. So in many ways, information related to procurement is similar to that involved in the order processing. So both form of information exchange serve to facilitate the operations that link a firm with its customers and the suppliers. But there is a primary difference between the procurement and the order processing. It is a type of operation that results from requirement of the transfer. Procurement is based on the order processing. Okay. So the overall purpose of operational information, so far what we discussed in the entire model, is to provide a detailed data required for integrated performance of all the three components which we had the discussion earlier. Can I ask you the question, what are the three important components in the integrated logistics model we discussed? Yes, manufacturing support, physical distribution, and the procurement. So this planning coordination flows provide information concerning planned activities. Operational requirements are needed to direct the day-to-day logistics work within the context of inventory and the inventory flows and the information flows. The managers within an enterprise must achieve specific objectives to exploit or to reach out the logistical competency. If the company wants to provide or reach out the better logistical competency, they have to go in for basic logistical operating arrangements. The potential for logistical service to favorably impact the customers is directly related to operating system design. So now let us look into the operational performance, specifically logistical operating arrangements. What are the various models available for us? The potential for logistical services to favorably impact the customer is directly related to operating system design. So the many different phases of our logistics performance requirements make operational design a complex task, as an operating structure must offer a balance of performance, cost, and the flexibility. So when we consider the variety of logistics systems used throughout the world to service widely to diverse market requirements, we also have to understand some kind of basic structure-based logistics models which will help to reach out the logistics performance. First, the model has to be designed to manage inventory. That's a prime focus of identifying any better model for the logistics. Second, the range of logistics alternatives are limited by available technology. So one, the focus must be on the inventory, the other one must be on linking inventory with the technology. There are many models which are related with the measuring logistical operations. I'm just going to mention few of the models which is already available in the research. First one, of course, be the Echelon structured logistics model. So what is the meaning of Echelon structure? It means the flow of products typically proceeds through a common arrangement of firms and facilities as it moves from origin to final destination. The use of echelons usually implies the total cost analysis which justifies stocking some level of inventory or performing a specific activity at consecutive level of a supply chain. They utilize warehouses to create inventory assortments and achieve the consolidation of economies associated with large volume transportation shipments. Inventories positioned in warehouses are available for rapid deployment to meet the customer requirements. So this is quite common system which is prevailing in most of the logistics operation organization. The typical echelon system utilize either the break, bulk, or consolidation warehouses. Inventory is sorted out and stored in anticipation of the future customer requirements. Food distribution centers operated by the major grocery chains and wholesalers are the basic examples of break bulk warehouses. What is a consolidation warehouse? Which operates in a reserve profile. Say, for example, in the consolidation is typically required by manufacturing firm that have the plants at different geographical location. Product manufactured at different plants are sorted in a central warehouse facility to allow the firm to ship the full-time assortments to the customers. Major consumer product manufacturers are the prime example of the enterprises which are using the Echelon system for full line consolidation. So this is all about the discussion on the first model, Echelon structure logistics. I'll present you the second model, direct structured logistics. In contrast to the inventory echeloning or logistical systems which are designed to ship the products direct to customer destination from one or a limited number of centrally located inventories. This direct distribution typically uses the the speed services of premium transport combined with the information technology to rapidly process the customer order and achieve the delivery performance. So this combination of capabilities designed into the order delivery cycle reduces the time delays and overcomes the geographical separation from customers. So what are the examples of the direct shipments? The plan to consumer truckload shipments, the direct store delivery, and various forms of direct to consumer fulfillment support e-commerce shopping. These are all some of the examples of the direct logistical structure. These structures are also commonly used for inbound components and materials to manufacturing plants because this average shipment size is typically large, so they generally go in for this kind of direct logistics system. Now I'm taking you to the third logistics system. I hope you remember we started the first discussion with the Ecleon structured logistics. Second one is with the direct structured logistics. Now I am presenting you the third one, flexible logistics system. I hope with the name you'll be able to understand what is this context. The ideal logistic arrangement is a situation wherein the inherent benefits of Ecleon and the direct structures. Imagine with the both logistic structure what I discussed with you. If you combine the benefits of both, we get the third form, that is the flexible logistics system. So anticipatory commitment of the inventory should ideally be postponed as long as possible. So inventory strategies often position fast-moving products or materials in forward warehouses, while other it is more risky or costly items are stocked at the central location for direct distribution to the customers. So the basic service commitment and the order size order size economics, whatever we are doing, determine the most desirable economic structure to service a specific set of customers. There may be two different flexible structures. One is emergency flexible structure. Emergency flexible operations are pre-planned strategies to resolve the logistics failures. A typical emergency occurs when an assigned shipping facility is out of stock or for some or other reason, cannot complete a customer order. So for example, a warehouse may be out of an item with no replenishment inventory schedule to arrive until after the customer's specified order delivery date. So to prohibit back order or the product cancellation from the customer side, a contingency operating policy may assign the total order, or at least those items are not available, for shipment from an alternative warehouse. Immediately this arrangement could be made. The use of emergency flexible operation procedures are typically based on the importance of the specific customer or the critical nature of the product which is being offered. Sometimes if it's a very big order, voluminous order, where you have serving a loyal customer, so you have to make it. So almost our emergency based flexible structure, which we have a lot of examples the time of COVID. We could see almost all our healthcare services which were taken care under this emergency flexible structure. Of course, the next structure is routine flexible structure. A flexible logistics capability that has gained popularity as a result of improved communication technology, which involves various procedures for serving a specific set of customers, which is a core part of designing our logistics system. So the flexible rules and regulations, the decision scenario, which will specify alternative way to meet the service requirements, maybe assignment of different shipping facilities. So this kind of flexible structure, or you can even say a strategy that exploits the routine flexible operations, may be justified in at least 4 different situations. Okay. So far I discussed with you in this context. I have introduced you the model of integrated logistics. I've clearly explained the information flow. We started our discussion from the information flow. Information flow where we have 2 different sets of components. One is under our planning and coordination flow. The other one is under logistical operation. In the context of planning and coordination flow, I've presented you the 7 different nodes or points where the real information requirement flow is possible. I'll summarize. I hope you remember all the 7 components which I discussed with you earlier. Strategic objectives, a capacity constraint, logistical requirement, inventory deployment, manufacturing requirement, procurement requirement, and the forecasting. So these are all the 7 components which requires information flow under the context of planning and coordination. Then I've introduced you the model of planning and coordination flow. I've explained the components which are present in the model. With the examples also we have seen. And the next part of information flow is operational requirement, wherein I have introduced you the 5 different components which require the operational information flow. Can you guess what are all, 6 different components? What are the various operational requirement flow components which we had a discussion in this specific class? Yes, order management, order processing, distribution operations, inventory management, transportation and shipping, and procurement. So earlier 7 components under the planning and coordination information flow system, and the second concept, operational requirement, we have seen 6 different subcomponents. I hope this is clear for your understanding. After the explanation, I started initiating the other set of discussion, which is logistical operating arrangement. In order to make your in order to achieve the logistical competency, we need to go in with any one of the best model, the logistic model, arrangement model. So I just introduced you 3 different models. We started our discussion with a clear structured logistics model with examples we have seen. The second model, direct structured logistics model, also we have seen with examples. And the third model, which we talk about, the flexible logistics system, which is a right combination of a clear structured model with direct shipping model. And also I've given you the classification of flexible logistics system under 2 heads. One is emergency flexible structure. The other one is routine flexible structure. So I hope this discussion, what we had in the today class, gives you a clear understanding idea of the part of work of logistics 2, under which we introduce you different models for your understanding. Continue your happy learning. Thank you.